I watched the movie Hamnet, in which I was overwhelmingly overwhelmed. I say a sentence like that because that's the only way that you can feel what I felt. Don't get what I mean? When you hear me say overwhelmingly overwhelmed, that's not proper English. Doesn't quite fit. Doesn't make sense. But you know what I mean when I say that. It may not be vivid, but you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. I was so full in heart and mind and soul after watching Hamnet. And it has satisfied some of the questions that have been lingering, especially over the past couple of months, in terms of artistry, art, subjectivity, critics of art of all forms. And before I go a little bit deeper, I want to give a little bit of context. Hamnet is a movie. And the movie is essentially, and they don't hide it by any means, a film about, as you would suspect, Hamnet being a William Shakespeare play, but it's not at all what you would expect. William Shakespeare is actually not in a lot of the movie, at least the core parts and elements of the movie, and even more so, I even think that I missed them even calling him by his name, if they even did, the entire movie until they said it towards the end of the movie. Oh, looking for William Shakespeare. And that alone should allow you to really understand, again, overwhelmingly overwhelmed. Does that make sense? Came into this movie knowing it's about William Shakespeare. What the hell is going on here? All that to say, this movie is undoubtedly about William Shakespeare. This movie is emotional to the core of the definition. Music, acting, scenes, plot line, story, emotional. I cried multiple times watching this movie. And at the end, I couldn't even stop myself. Not like bawling or nothing like that, because I don't really cry like that. My cry is just, it just releases. A tear down the cheek, both eyes, full of water, or tears, semantics. And by the end of the movie, one of the most profound things that filled me, satisfied me in some of my questions about some of the things that I mentioned earlier was really the idea that William Shakespeare, one of the greatest writers, playwrights, whatever you want to say about him. He's great. We understand that to be true. But one of the things that is the hardest thing to, one of the hardest things in my opinion, to convey is to force empathy upon somebody. To force empathy in a way that's not like, you can't really force empathy. You have to cultivate it. You have to make them feel how you feel. Not in a way of like a bully making you feel hurt because they were hurt, but in a way that is more so like telling a story that at its core is told so well and is so universal in its motifs that anyone that is listening to the story, watching the story, hearing the story has no choice at all, but to understand exactly how you felt and what you were trying to express in that story. Now to dig a little bit deeper into that relation to Hamnet. The story is undoubtedly, after finishing it, about William Shakespeare. But it is also undoubtedly not about Shakespeare at all. Not even a little bit. But at the same time, completely. Overwhelmingly overwhelmed. The story starts of one of love. The story ends one of love as well. Two different versions of it. William Shakespeare, and this is what I'm perceiving from the way that this story is being told and how I felt at the end of watching Hamnet. He made this play to cope with his son dying. A lost son. And the most beautiful part was the fact that the mourning mother of this lost child sees this play and sees the humanity, the spirit, the essence of her lost child as if he was still there. It was quite beautiful. Quite beautiful. The bow tie at the end, the closing of the movie. The actor that played William Shakespeare's wife, I'm missing her name. She just won an Oscar, well deserved. And truthfully, I think the director, Chloe, she should have won Best Director, but one battle at a time, one battle after another. Tis. He had to get his swipes, Mr. Anderson. The idea that she could feel healed out of the product of storytelling that is human, storytelling that is expression in itself, and that expression is the amalgamation of his experience and his dealing and his mourning of his lost child, and telling that and expressing that in a way that heals himself through the mourning process. But in that, all those emotions that you feel during mourning, or what it really means to lose someone, what it really means to live a life with all these different experiences and connections to humans and emotions in general, Hamnet then did for people then what Hamnet now, the movie I'm referring to, versus the play in ancient times, as I'm calling it. I don't even know when Shakespeare, 18 something? I don't know. I don't know the dates like that. But in ancient times, what it did for them, it made them, allowed for them to cope, allowed for them to heal what was inherently just human, the human part of them, the human thing that's in them that a lot of people suppress, a lot of people don't know how to cope with, don't know how to deal with, don't know how to even understand. But in a way of detaching it from who they are and their specific situation, they're allowed to heal, allowed to mourn properly, allowed to relate in a way that doesn't feel, well, where you restrict yourself from preventing you from being too logical, being too caught up, being too involved in what it is that you're dealing with. So if you've gone through an experience where you've lost someone, or just loss in general, you know loss. And in knowing loss, there is an element of any story involving loss that you can relate to. And if you haven't dealt with that, then if you're going through a story that is an expression of someone dealing with that themselves in a way that it's healed them and it's completed them, then the essence is there of that healing and that healing and that completion of your loss. Now, a loss will stay with you forever. That is a certainty. But it's the healing of it. It's the reconciling with it. That is the hardest part, most difficult part. And the play, then, in this movie, now, I just felt so full of emotion the entire movie. It was like a rubber band, tight the entire time. The epitome of actors acting. As then, the epitome of actors acting. That's the best it got there. A writer's job, a director's job, is to convey what they're trying to convey and express what they're trying to express. And everyone has their own life experiences, and the reception of whatever it is they're inputting can output in so many different ways. But it's the fact that that different life experience or similar life experience is inputted into you does so much, so much. It's like living another life, if done correctly, if done well. Or it could just be like the passing of lights, the passing of cars, the passing of people. You think nothing of the less, nothing of it. The job of a director in a movie is to make you feel something, is to make you think something, is to invoke something out of you, or else why are they even doing it? Hamnet is the epitome of that in its peak. To where I can watch a movie, and there's not many movies that I've cried watching, just because in a lot of different scenarios, it's like it doesn't fill me up enough to where it needs to come out. It needs to release in form of tears. The emotional weight of the situation, the emotional connection, the ambiance, the essence. It doesn't break my threshold to where crying is even the outlet. So even more so, knowing that that is the fact for me. And I've cried at movies before, but like people talk about like crying at The Notebook or crying at like the Twilight movies or just all the different like movies like that people cry over. But this one was the one for me to where I don't think that I've ever consistently cried throughout a movie like this. And how I talk to you about the connection and the healing and what it does, I'll give you an example. I think the last movie that I cried at was Creed, the one Michael B. Jordan directed, the one where Jonathan Majors in it. I think that's the third one. The scene where his mom dies, I cried. Again, loss. Now we have to ask the question, what the fuck is up with me and loss? Or is that just something that I don't even know. How do you explain that? It's not that I haven't experienced it. I've experienced it, but I haven't experienced it in a way to where I've cried. But I also have never lost a mother or father or brother or sister. It's been a grandma, grandfather. But I haven't lost like that. So to have seen loss like that and felt it be so strong of a weight in terms of a mother, in terms of a child, and me not experiencing that in my life yet, those are the moments that get me there. And that's so fascinating to me, that I can experience truthfully and feeling like I truthfully experience loss as if it were me without experiencing loss. So now it's even getting to a deeper dive into things of, okay, what happens now if you have seen and experienced something that you haven't felt and experienced yourself as a human? Then, do you handle it better? Are you taught how to handle that better? Are you taught how to manage that better? Are you better equipped to handle that situation now because you know loss and you felt loss, although it not be direct? And that's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of human connection. That's the beauty of it all, is the fact that all can just be true. And Hamnet is an example of overwhelmingly overwhelmed, and what that means to me, for me, and to everyone else that engages with any form of art at any scale. Because it is certainly true that not all art requires to make you cry. Some is meant for the smiles. Some are meant for the wonder. Some are meant to attack, to be critical, to fight, a fight. But all in it the same to say, art is vital because art is here to be the human expression of things that are so human they can't be understood, they can't be internalized in anything outside of things that are inherently human. Not words always, although sometimes word can do the same. But it's how those words are spoken. They need to come from human experience, humanness, to even be expressed into the words that we also create. If we didn't have a word like melancholy, how would we express melancholy? It would take someone very good in their understanding of melancholy to express that to you in words, in scene, etc., etc., etc. And that is why Chloe literally hit it out the park. That is artistry at its finest. Every actor in that movie, the child actor, Hamnet, oh my God, what an actor. He was in his bag. And the highest level of performance. And I am a performer enjoyer. I enjoy things done at the highest level. And to see that movie is to be seen something done at the highest level of excellence, from a child actor to the mother, to its references to William Shakespeare, one of the greatest playwrights of his time. There is a form of art that is supposed to do this. And there's a form of art that does this within every genre. What is the hamnet of comedy? What is the hamnet of thriller? What is the hamnet of curiosity, of political activism? All these things. I digress into finally saying that I was overwhelmingly overwhelmed with the humanity that watching Chloe's Hamnet gave me, gifted me with. And that's why I love art so much, and that's why I love creation so much. It's because I only hope that I can create something that even allows someone to feel that. And that's human. That's human in its most magnificent form. I create for me, but I create because I felt what creation can do for someone. And to know that you've done that for one person, just one person, is enough for me and a lot of other creators to know that you've impacted something enough to expand art, expand humanity, and keep beautiful things excellent.